10-bit color, 4K 60, and S-Log, all for just a little over $1,000. While this camera is one of the best value cameras that Sony has ever released, but it does have 5 issues that I think you should know about. But the good news is that I found fixes to each of the shortcomings, and I'll be sharing those with you in this video. The first problem we're going to tackle is overheating, which seems to be quite a hot topic at the moment. Pun intended. It's mostly an issue when you're shooting in 4K 60, but if you're shooting in a hot environment or in a warm studio without good airflow, you may even have some problems in 4K 24. But the solution is quite simple. Thanks to Ulanzi, they created this amazing little fan that sits flush against the back of the camera. It helps dissipate the heat, giving you longer run times, and it doesn't need to be plugged in, so you don't have to worry about cables getting in your way or anything like that. But make sure you grab the updated version, because the old one used to use suction cups to attach to the back of the camera, whereas the new one uses a spring-loaded mechanism, which is much more secure. Considering that this fan can significantly increase your run times, while only costing $40, it's a must-have in my opinion, and I left links in the video description below. The next issue we have to overcome is the stabilization issue. Let me explain. Sony offers 2 forms of video stabilization in the ZV-E10 II. You have digital stabilization, which happens in camera, and you have catalyst browse, which you can apply in post. But unfortunately, both methods of stabilization have some pretty big drawbacks. The digital stabilization has a 50% crop in active mode, meaning that it's going to zoom in 1.5 times, making it too tight to use for vlogging or any other scenarios where you need a wide angle. And Catalyst Browse forces you to crank up your shutter speed, making the motion in your footage look jittery and unnatural. Taking all of that into consideration, it may be a smart move to get lenses that have optical image stabilization, which Sony calls OSS. But the problem is that most lenses don't have it. So I put together a list of some of the best lenses that do have optical image stabilization, and you can access that list in the description below. I included a few ultra wides that are perfect for vlogging, some telephoto lenses for long range stuff, and everything in between. And if budget constraints are forcing you to use a lens that doesn't have OSS, then at the very least, I'd grab a tripod. That way you can lock off your shots and not have to worry about any camera shake or anything like that. And I'd recommend you grab a tripod that has the clamps as opposed to the twisty things, because the clamps are much more efficient and easy to use. The third issue is the fact that the ZV-E10 II doesn't come with an EVF, so you're forced to frame up your shots using the LCD screen, which can be a real pain if you're outside filming on a bright sunny day. Even at its brightest settings, the LCD display could still have poor visibility when shooting in direct sunlight. Sony used to offer an external EVF that you would attach to the hot shoe, but it was priced about the same as a camera, so it wasn't really the best option. But fortunately, you do have these $30 generic viewfinders that are meant to work with most cameras, and they can really help out when shooting in overly bright conditions. It may not look so nice on the camera, and honestly, I wouldn't leave it on any longer than I had to, but when it comes down to getting the shot, it might be a useful tool for you. Of course, you could skip the ZV-E10 II altogether and pay a few $100s more and go for the A6700 instead, which has a viewfinder and is altogether a better camera. Either way, I left links below to the attachable viewfinder and the Sony A6700. The next problem with the Sony ZV-E10 II is that it doesn't come with a battery charger, or even a USB-C cable for that matter. And I'm sure we all have extra USB-C cables laying around, but there's still the issue that you can only charge the battery while it's in the camera, which can be a real pain, especially if you're trying to charge multiple batteries. So I suggest buying a battery charger and spare battery combo. That way you could charge one battery while using the other, allowing you to shoot all day. And if you're going to be using this camera for vlogging or any other scenario where the audio is important, then I wouldn't rely on the built-in mic. And I know Sony markets it as an advanced microphone, but honestly, it's not going to sound nearly as good as a dedicated shotgun mic. Unfortunately, there's 2 mics I really like that aren't really that expensive. The first one is only $36, and it sounds just as good as many microphones that cost hundreds of dollars. The second one is a little more expensive, but it's a wireless shotgun mic that can come in real handy. Another thing you want to pay attention to is the SD card that you get. Make sure it's UHS 2 compatible, because if you go for a cheaper card, it may not work with the 10-bit high quality video mode of the ZV-E10 too. And lastly, make sure to grab a camera bag to protect your investment, because cameras and lenses aren't cheap. I only paid $60 for mine, and it's been worth every penny. I'll leave links below to the ZV-E10 too, along with all the other gear that I talked about. And which camera you choose is important, but it's not as important as it used to be, especially considering all the new AI tools that have been coming out. And that's why I highly suggest you watch this video next, where I share 10 of the best AI tools for photographers, videographers, and other creatives. Make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future tutorials and reviews. I appreciate you watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. It's Full Length Creative signing out. Peace.